Okay, let's see if I am live. And I guess I am. Test, test, test. It seems like I have sound. And I guess I... Yep, okay. So we're good, it's working again. YouTube is being so weird. Okay, so I'm going to color page 105. This is going to be the last page of chapter 4 from our comic book, Neil Feynman's Time Traveling Adventures. See, I'll bring up a older page just so I have the colors on hand. Not this one, I think this one I have all 3 dogs. And I'm gonna turn off the panels here. There we go. I've changed the color base so that I'll have less issues with the bleed of the color. I'm pressing the bracket key in order to change the size of the brush. Yep, and he had a lighter tip and face. Oh, where else is it opened? Not sure what's going on. Did I select all the layers when I fill? All layers. Curious. Oh, it's open here at the paw. There we go. Now it's working. tip of the tail was what color? Oops. Hey, I took out the... Oh, hi! Can you hear me okay? So what did I just do? I took out the timeline out of the program. Waves, waves, yay! Okay. Oh, come on. This is the animation timeline. I'm trying to close it somehow. There we go. uh, I always find it very annoying when you snap out a menu, and then if you're not in a program that you know very well, it's kind of hard to figure out how to put it back in. And I have been working in Clip Studio Paint for I think 2 years almost. But there are like still things that I don't know. I don't know it as well as I know Photoshop. In Photoshop I worked for 10 years more, so I know every button. Although now I have like an old version of Photoshop, so probably if I ever got Creative Cloud, I'd be again lost, like where are the buttons? Better than Photoshop. So I am using Clip Studio Paint and it is better than Photoshop for making comics. That is definitely true. It makes life so much easier than Photoshop. First of all, it has vector line art that you can draw with your pen tablet, and it's is vector line art, and that is awesome. It makes everything so much easier when you have to edit or correct anything. And if you ever need to like scale up the line art, you can do so. And because it's vector, you have no loss of quality. I still do the colors raster, but that's not much of an issue because if I scale it up, it will be just the in the style that I'm drawing, it will be just a bit blurry, but it will be the line art over it, so you'll not see, and it's not going to be an issue. So yeah, a friend of mine who did comics before me, he recommended Clip Studio Paint. I had seen information about it going around before, but after he drew my attention to it properly, I mean, like I looked at reviews online, and when I could see all the things that Clip Studio Paint could do, I said, man, I gotta switch. It's a bit of a steep learning curve. If you've never worked with a digital drawing software, Clip Studio Paint is gonna be probably too hard for you. Photoshop is a lot more user friendly and, you know, idiot proof. I think when you first have the program, there are a lot of notifications, like you want to draw something and it tells you, hey, no layer was selected, and you have to select a layer in order to draw. So it tells you a lot of things. I don't remember for sure if Clip Studio Paint tells me as many. I immediately turn them off because a lot of this basic stuff I know, and sometimes I would click incorrectly and would just pop up the menu. I'm like, I know that. Shut up. And also Photoshop has like way less buttons for drawing. It has way less options as well. You can't do as many things. Photoshop has many things on other subjects like photography and 3D editing and animation and stuff like that. And Clip Studio Paint has a lot of features as well. I don't use all of them. I would say that for editing photos, Clip Studio Paint isn't as good. And it wasn't made for that. I do hate a lot of the brushes in Photoshop. I like the way you can edit the brushes. I think that for CS 6 anyway, I don't know what they did in Creative Cloud. I don't remember. I only used it briefly, and I didn't use it anymore because I didn't want to pay that extra money every month. It just seemed silly. Like I paid for Clip Studio Paint $20 3 or 2 years ago. I think 2 years ago, and I still have it, and it only cost me $20 because I got it at a discount, and I get free updates. I have access to their library of things that I can use. Let me show you. So you have a lot of stuff that you can download from their website. Let's see, 3D stuff. Like you have a lot of standard stuff that comes with the program, and then you can get some more of yourself from their website. Yeah, it's very good. I mean, Photoshop, last I checked, they wanted like, I don't know, $20 each month for Creative Cloud, Photoshop, just Photoshop. Like Illustrator was $40 at some point, and it just seems ridiculous. How could you ask for $40 each month and you only rent the program for a month? Are you crazy? Get out of here. Maybe it's a good plan for like big companies that $40 is just nothing. But to me, $40 is a lot of money, especially if you live in East Europe or Latin America or somewhere else like that. Like I had a friend from Venezuela. I think she's still around. I don't know. I haven't talked to her in months. Hope she's okay. But I talked with her and she told me that a salary in Venezuela, in the city that she was living in, it was $40 a month. Sorry, $60 a month. And I was like, how do you, what? $60 a month? That's your salary as a lab assistant? How is that? How do you live? And I mean, the everything is cheaper in a country whose currency is weaker. I think that was the whole scandal with the Chinese because they were undervaluing the Chinese currency, so they have like better selling power. But wow, $60 a month. Yeah. So there's no way that someone with that economic situation and currency and stuff like that would ever consider buying um, Photoshop each month. Is just ridiculous. And she used free programs like Paint Tool, and GIMP, and Inkscape, I think, is also free. And she did very nice art. Like I don't know if you saw the fan art that people send me, but she did like a Marie with strawberries, and it was really cute. So this corgi that I'm coloring now. What I think a good program does, it just makes your life easier and you save time. Especially for comic books, you know, where you do the same thing over and over again, you draw the same character over and over again. Um, there's not much change or innovation you're gonna do. You need to keep the character looking consistent. So you need to be able to draw the same character over and over faster and faster so that you can have a higher output of pages per month. And for that, I think the Clip Studio Paint does a really great job of saving me a lot of time that otherwise I would have to spend differently. So selecting layers above when I color, this feature is also such a great time saver aside from the um, vector line art. Like the mesh tool could be better. I think that the mesh tool is better in Photoshop, but I don't need it that much. If I ever do concept art, I do it in PaintStorm usually anyway. And PaintStorm has a pretty good mesh tool. So that's another program that I like to use. I'm still learning PaintStorm as well. Like for some things, I can do it a lot faster in PaintStorm. But for other things, I sometimes get lost. I'm like, where was that brush that I liked? And I just never get enough practice in these programs, so then I like forget what I learned the previous month. Like for anybody trying to learn a program, recommendation is practice a lot because you will forget where the buttons are. Even if you're young. Like I thought it was an issue that uh, I'm old at 30 years old and can't remember where buttons are. Where was my... here. So I can get the right brown. But I was talking to my sister. She mostly does 3D art. And she uses Blender because it's free and it's pretty good. And I was complaining to her, oh, I'm old, I can't remember where the buttons are. I used them last week, but now I can't remember. And she put my worries at ease. I mostly use Blender because you can export line art. So for example, I need to draw a street in perspective for the background for one of the panels. And I just put some cubes up there and then I export the line art. And I can send that to my friend June and she can just trace what I did so that we have like a half decent perspective. Neither one of us is very good at drawing backgrounds. So, yeah. You kind of have to try and resolve it that way. I used to use Lightwave and 3D Max and Maya. Yeah, Maya, I did it in university because that's the industry standard. Um, but I never liked Maya that much. I'm also not that passionate about 3D art. It's definitely useful in making 2D art because it can save you a lot of time. But it just never resonated with me. For book two, so I'm working now for the comic book. I'm working on book one, and for book two, I do want to hire someone to do the backgrounds because we're gonna travel to some pretty awesome places like India and China and Sri Lanka. So I really want to have good backgrounds because those places look amazing. Do you know if Lightwave still exists? Wasn't it a Photoshop program, Lightwave? If I remember correctly. Oh, it's 3D? I used ZBrush for a while. It was a lot. I like the workflow of ZBrush a lot more than Maya and Blender. I prefer to draw raster than vector, so I have the option to change things a lot easier. And I think that's what I liked about ZBrush because it mimicked real life sculpting a lot more. Like it seemed to me for Maya that I had to think like 100 steps ahead to know where I want to get to and not make any mistakes along the way because it was always so hard to fix anything. hmm Oh, so you went to a school that taught you 3D modeling? That's so cool. We didn't have that for our school. It wasn't like a dedicated university degree. It was just multimedia, and you had like web design with 3D modeling all mashed up together because why not? Their idea was, it's pretty much the same thing. Like, who cares? It's not like these jobs exist in Romania anyway. Like, why should we bother to make them separate? I think in Europe, the only places that had these in university were like the Scandinavian countries and maybe France and Germany. Yeah. Yeah, so we had actually it was really weird at the film school cuz we had you had film directing as a specialty, you had acting as a specialty. You would get a degree in acting and you'd come out as an actor. But for sound editing, animation, 3D modeling, web design, you only had the multimedia. So you had all these jobs in one university, and it was really weird. So I had um, sound recording, editing, composing, music editing, composing, all in one. So this was kind of already mashed up in a weird way. Then you had film editing. Um, then you had animation, 3D modeling, and web design. So you had like five at least five specialities that are in the West, separate universities, but for us they were like all mashed up, five jobs in one. And of course each of us specialized in one of them because you couldn't be good at all of these at the same time. It's just physically impossible. And I went for animation. Some colleagues went for editing, others went for sound. I don't think anybody went to web design because it was kind of weird. Like, why would you have web design at a film school? Like, I hope it's better now. Maybe they changed things to be normal. I hope they did. Yeah, that's probably why they put it in there, but like they never actually taught us much about web design. Because the teachers were super old and they actually didn't know a lot of the programs they were supposed to teach us. Like a lot of them did film editing in the 70s and you didn't have any Final Cut Pro or Avid or Premiere or anything like that. And they were in their 60s and 70s. So what they did, they taught us how to cut film, like actual film. You know, the one that you have to develop. And we used these editing machines from the 40s. Like, they were actually made in the 40s, 1940s, the machines. They were genuinely museum pieces that we learned to edit on. And when you cut, we had to use duct tape, and you had to never pause the film where the light was hitting an area where you made a cut. Because of the heat, the duct tape would how do you say, melt and come off. And I had a project where I had to work with a film director because this is what they did. You know, we had to work in teams. People from acting, people from directing, people from screenplay, from the different university branches. And you couldn't always choose. Like, sometimes you were allowed to choose and sometimes you would be given a crappy director just so you learn life skills. And I got this girl that she wanted to do subliminal horror film, and I had to splice frames of a monster between the frames of something normal. And I told her it's not a good idea on film, real film, to do this because there will be a lot of cuts and I have to use duct tape for this. And I told her, you know, maybe do this when you have a digital project. And she was like, no, 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 let's try. And I was like, okay, we'll try. And of course it kept coming off. I think at some point it started burning. And she was like, okay, you were right. At least she was understanding, you know. Like, there were far worse film directors than her. Like, she was on the mild spectrum. Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was annoying because our grades were intertwined, so this was supposed to be another life lesson. So if you had bad luck and you chose a crappy film director, or you were given a crappy film director and he made bad choices like this and the film became unusable, then when you had to be graded for your film editing, you would be graded for the decisions that the film director made. So we had situations where one of the colleagues, he was very good at film editing, or he was very good at making sound for film, and he would get a bad director that made just every bad choice possible, and so he would get a lower grade um, because of the boss that he had. Um, so yeah, when we had the third year, they let us choose the teammates that we would have. So obviously the good directors went first because everybody wanted to work with them. The reasonable film directors that you could have a conversation and an understanding with, and they would both strive for like good quality stuff. Like they would go first, and then you would have left at the bottom of the barrel the film directors that were just either crazy or stupid or too artsy. And then yeah, the film editors that were mediocre, like they would go with them. I don't think you can really have like a bad film editor, because as long as you splice two what do you call them, scenes together, then you did your job. It's something that's kind of hard to fail at too catastrophically anyway. And we had like some of the film directors, like they were heads in the cloud, very disorganized. And I'm a very organized person. Sounds like my film school experience, yeah. How many years did you do? Because we have the Bologna system, so we did 3 years. Yeah, so before I forget my idea, so I'm a very organized person and I don't have patience with disorganized people. So I think some of the teachers wanted to punish the disorganized film directors, and then like they would couple us together because I would be so hard on them. Oh, too. Yeah, so like I had one guy that he would like forget to come, and I would yell at him because I just had no respect for him. And one time he came to school with his girlfriend, and I was upset because he was late. And I was like, "Where you been?" Rah, rah, like I was his mother or something. Um, and I looked at her and I'm like, "Why is he late?" And she was like, "Oh, he's an artist, blah blah blah. I can't. I tried to make him come at the right time." She called me like a drill officer or something like that behind my back. But it wasn't like a bad thing. It was like um the poor guy feared me. Yeah, so I think the teachers were trying to punish him by putting us together. Because I don't think you can have more opposite personalities in one room. And like all of these ideas, they seemed to me like they were stupid and like pointless and like why you do this? Why did you do that? Like what was going through your head? That makes no sense, but fine, I'll do it. Don't complain to me when your teachers give you a bad grade. Because I had so much work to do because I was studying for animation. But the way the scheduling was that I had to do a lot of these silly film projects in order to get my grade, and I couldn't focus on animation. So every time he wasted my time, he was taking time from me working on my animation skills. So I was like doubly upset with him. I was like, I have better things to do than work on your crummy film. Yeah, it wasn't so much his fault for that arrangement. Like, I don't blame him that much for those issues. That was more of the administrational issues of the university. But, you know, he was such a goofball. And he always tried to, like, one of the things that worked on other people and it just didn't work on me was the fact that he was like super duper handsome. Like all the girls and all the teachers thought he was handsome, and actually some of his film director colleagues would sometimes cast him as like they needed someone handsome to appear in the film, and they would just ask him to like show up in the background or be the love interest or something like that. And he also was very much a charmer, like he could charm the pants off of everybody except me. Or maybe it were other people that weren't susceptible to his charms, but I remember some of the teachers making fun that they were like patting themselves on the back with their evil plan that they stuck the two of us together because I was just not tolerating any of his shenanigans. And I had at the, because I also studied in my spare time international marketing. Yeah, so and I actually at some groups like I would have like handsome guys or guys that thought they were handsome, which I thought was hilarious. So they thought they were handsome and that they were charming me into doing their homework because they always did the homework and the projects, and they were like, "Oh yeah, you're so smart. You're such a smart girl. You're so hardworking. You're so talented. Oh, you're so organized," or whatever the compliments they would try. And then they were like, "Oh, you can do that. Great, great, great." And like the day before the project was due, like they send me an SMS or a message and like, "Oh, is the homework done?" And I'll tell them, "Yeah, it is done." And then um, I would cut them off the paper because they didn't do anything. So like I would tell the teacher, "Hey, this is my homework and it was made by me. Here's my name and class." And then they would look in their paper and say, hey, wasn't there supposed to be another guy on the paper with you? And I'm like, yeah, but he didn't do anything. So all the homework was done by me. And of course, they didn't have the project because they didn't think to ask for it. So they couldn't even prove that they did anything. Which I thought was hilarious. Yeah, they thought they were charming me. I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, yeah, 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 thank you for the compliments. Is the homework done? I'm like, yeah, it is. Sure. I'll send it to school tomorrow. I'm gonna go to class. I'm curious if that ever worked on any of the girls. Now that I think about it, I kind of remember more situations. Like one time a guy called me at 10 o'clock at night to ask me if I can do his homework, and I was like, no, sorry, I'm busy. I got my own homework to do. I don't remember any girls doing this. Like, I'm curious now if this was something that girls did as well. Like, have you ever had a pretty girl um, come and ask you to do her homework for her? Or a girl that thinks she's pretty? Like, that's the best part. I was the only metalhead with makeup and spikes in my whole town. People gave me a wide berth. Ah, yeah. I didn't have any spikes and stuff like that. I spend my money on candy. I lived in the capital, so there were a lot of weird people there, weirder than me, especially at the film school. Like in Romania, everybody worships pork, like everybody loves bacon. So if you're a vegan, like that's one of the weirdest things you can do. Parents will move their kids away. Yeah, that's never happened to me. I got confused with a guy a couple of times. Like, old people will come up to me and say, young man, can you help me with these groceries? Or, young man, can you let me in front of you to cut in the line? I'm old and my legs can't hold me up anymore. But that was because I um had to had an misfortune with my hair, and basically the misfortune was my mom, because she took me to a horrible barber cut haircut or whatever it's called, and he just destroyed my hair. And I had for a time short hair because of him. Miss. Miss. Oh, yeah. At what age were you able to grow facial hair and were allowed to have facial hair? Like, would it be that they call you Miss behind your back, and then when you turn your face, you have like a big beard, and people are like, oh, wait, you're not a girl? You had facial hair since you were 15. Oh, that would have been so funny. I'm like, Miss. And then you turn around and you have a big bushy beard. I can imagine. For me, it was a bit annoying. Like, I would have, during that period, I would have like little kids come up to me, because they didn't have phones or clocks at that age. So they'd be like, Mister, Mister, what time is it? Because kids would usually be told, you can stay out until such and such time, and then you come home for dinner. Because kids were left roaming around, they could go wherever. And if they didn't have a watch or a way to tell the time, they would have to like ask strangers on the street. And so I would go down the street somewhere and run into kids playing football in the middle of the street. And they ask me, hey, Mister, Mister, what time is it? And because of course the first time they would say Mister, I wouldn't turn, and then they would keep yelling, hey, Mister, and then I would turn like, what is going on? And then they asked me, what time is it? Yeah. I think I had a wristwatch. I had a little wristwatch when I was a kid. Although usually I didn't need it, because all the other kids were living with their grandparents. I was the only one in the area living with my parents. And my parents just didn't care. You come home when you're hungry, and maybe we'll feed you if we have anything. But the grandparents, they were strict. Like, you have to come home before this time, and then you have to eat, and then you have to do your homework, and then you have to wash, and then you have to do all of that. So they couldn't stay out for too long. I usually came home when I had nobody to play with anymore. Like, that was how I went home. Yeah, it was funny. Sometimes some of the kids would try and negotiate. You played with your siblings. Yeah, I didn't have any siblings at that time. I was still an only child and enjoying the good life. Well, it wasn't that great, but when I had siblings, it was like, oh, the age difference is way too much. It was 12 years and a half. Oh, she sometimes does, yeah. Like, I showed her pictures of how they behaved when they were little, because I have them. And they would just draw on the walls, they would like cry. My sister kept chewing my bed. Um, one time she stole a stick of butter from the fridge and was like quietly and silently eating it under the table. Like whenever they were quiet, it was suspicious, and like we would go and check and see what they were doing. And they had drawn on their faces or on the walls or stuff like that. When we used to live with rent, so when we left, we had to pay for renovations. Yeah, I liked garlic too when I was little, but it was more because my parents abandoned me on my grandparents' farm and there wasn't much to eat. So every day I would just go around the garden and see what was edible. Like walnuts, green walnuts from the trees, grapes, garlic. I was having a growth spurt at that time, so I was like hungry all the time. And um I don't know how it is in Canada or in the US, but in Romania peasants are kind of pretty vegan because meat is expensive and they don't slaughter their animals every day. And I lived in the capital, so I had a much more meat heavy diet, and I was also during my growth spurt. So my grandmother actually complained to me that I eat too much meat and I'm eating her out of house and home. And that made me just feel so bad. You know, I got annoyed with her and like, I'm starving every day and you're complaining I eat too much. Like, what's wrong with you? I want to go home. Yeah, I did not like staying with my um, grandparents from the, what do you call it, rural area. They also didn't have cable TV. Yeah, they had a garden, but during summer there wasn't much that was edible. Like it was usually in autumn, and even then you have to like cook potatoes. You can't just take them out of the ground. And I would just get hungry. Like I would eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I would still be hungry because she was just used to far less food, and I was like in my peak moment of growth. Like now I don't eat so much, but back then I remember being hungry often. Also, my parents were moving at some point, and I went to stay with some friends. And I remember before my dad left after he dropped me off, That's bad. Yeah. He offered this friend that he let me stay with, he offered to pay for the food that I would eat. And his friend said, "Oh, don't worry. I'll take good care of your daughter. We have a spare bedroom. Yeah, she how much can she eat, you know?" Um and the first days I was like in a new area, so I didn't do anything. I Come on, copy paste. Okay, I'll undo. Okay, there we go. Copy paste. Forest. So I didn't eat much. I didn't go anywhere. I was just trying to be a good kid and mind my own business. I had exams coming up, so just sitting and studying. And all of them were like, "Oh, you're so skinny. You should eat more. Like, if you're hungry, don't be afraid to eat." And I ate. I was like, "Okay, I can eat. Fine. Awesome." And like the next day they were like, "Where's the ham? Where's the cheese? Where's the..." Well, I ate most of it. I was hungry. They At some point they bought some fruit, and I would just go and get like a little fistful of fruit, and then I go again and like nibbling on it. And by the time it got late at night and they came, like half the fruit was missing. And they would be like, "Where did all the food go?" I, I thought I bought such and such number of kilograms of food. I'm like, "I ate it." You said it was okay. Like, I don't know what they were expecting. I'm like, "Yeah, eat, eat, eat," like how older people usually do. And like, "Oh, you're so skinny, you must eat more." And then when you do, they're like, "Where did all the food go?" It's in my belly, yeah. Reminds me of that joke with there was someone poor and fat, and you would ask them like, "Where did all your money go?" And the person pats his belly and is like, "Here it went." We have a lot of jokes about food in Romania. I think a lot of them are rather old, but some of them are new. Like for example, black cherries I think are one of the most expensive things you can buy in Romania. And the sadder thing is that a lot of them have worms in it, because it's not usually the best quality products that end up in Romania. So, like, discount crappy stuff from Europe gets sent to Romania. And at some point, the newspaper, like the Romanian version of The Onion, um, was making a joke saying a worm sold his black cherry and moved to Bercen. I got an apartment in Bercen, and Bercen is a very expensive place to buy an apartment now. It used to be kind of a really dumpy place, and nobody wanted to live there. But it got gentrificated, so now it's a fancy place to live in. Got gentrified, I think it's called. So yeah, the cherry worm sold his cherry and got an apartment there. It's probably not as funny in English, but if you know the social context, If you know the social context of Bucharest and economic situation, then you would find that hilarious. Well, it's it's not so much of an issue for Romania because those people, most of them own the houses since communist times, so they don't have to worry about rent going up. It's not as bad as in some places in the US where this stuff happens. Most people in Romania own the house. Oh, hi Kirani. Welcome. Can you hear me okay? Yeah, it's only bad like if you're late to the show and you don't know own any housing. Like a lot of Romanians still live with their parents simply because they just can't afford to live with rent. Yep, a bit of lag on my end. Oh, I'm so sorry. But I'm with the kids playing Super Smash Bros. Oh, that's so cute. Family time. Cornolis is in the YouTube chat, which is apparently working again. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Mm. I've been introducing the kids to your content this week. Kiran, he says hi to Cornolis. Oh God. Oh yeah. May I ask for a shout out for the pickup puffs? How do I do shout outs? I pat her. Cornolis pats you on the head. It would make their day. Hope Hisame is okay. I'm still alive. Remember those little mayflies I was telling you about while I was talking? One of them just went into my mouth and I inspired it. I think it went into my lungs. I have no idea about shoutouts. I give a shout out to the Pickup Puffs, so hey there, Pickup Puffs. I'm not sure exactly how to do shoutouts. I don't usually get asked to do them. I think the last time I was asked to do a shout out was a year ago, and I forgot how to do it. That was perfect, thanks. You're welcome. Hi there, Pickup Puffs. Cuties. Kirani, did you see my fish mod? I put Tui and La in the mod from Avatar The Last Airbender. Yeah, I mean, if as long as it's not a real whale, I'm not that concerned. I posted the video in the art thread of Mana Up. I was surprised people complained. I don't remember in what game it was. I think it was either Far Cry or one of the Assassin's Creed games. I'm not sure. Where when you killed an animal, you could harvest this hide, and it was very realistic. And people are like, no, we don't want to know the truth. Don't make it so graphic. I'd rather live in ignorance. And I think eventually the developers bowed down to people's demands and like made it without it. Oh, it was in both games? I thought that was a weird place to not want realism. Like everything else they wanted to be more realistic, but in that one they didn't. Yeah, I think in all of these games you're pretty brutal when you execute people. Generally, I don't play these kinds of games because I don't find them appealing that much. Like, I prefer farming games and cutesy stuff where you never kill anyone, you just knock them out or scare them away. I think I'm better now. My throat just was pretty irritated. Where did the mic go? It's back. It's back. Yeah, I paused it a bit because I was just coughing so much and I didn't want to break your ears. Oh, hi, David. Yeah, some honey and lemon. I think I have one of those drops, cough drops somewhere. Oh, I found some old Oreo cookies. These I don't think are good anymore. I have so much stuff on my desk. I need to clean it at some point. Yeah, the sound is good. Awesome. Yeah, my tea went cold. I'll have to get a new one. The power of the Oreo cookie. I think I'm done with the base colors. I can save this and send it to Photoshop, where I can continue editing stuff. And add kind of the special effects and the speech bubbles. Because it's easier to make them there than in Clip Studio Paint. Like, Clip Studio Paint can do these things as well. It's just that each program is better at something than the other program, so that's why I use both of them. To save as much time as I can. Go up. Fine, don't go up. Professionals use multiple programs. I think a lot of them, yes, do that. Oh, David, dacă vrei să-mi trimiți niște fan art să arăt în comic book, poți să-mi trimiți până săptămâna viitoare și o să postez pe Tapastic. Că termin capitolul 4. And now I'm gonna repeat what I just said in English as well for anybody interested. We are ending chapter 4. So whenever we end a chapter, we take fan art submissions and we publish them at the end of the chapter. So if you want to be featured, send us fan art until next week. Yep. And we will publish it on Tapastic. Let me show you an example so you guys know what's going on. Oh, what error happened? Oh, it is working. I don't know why it showed me an error. Let me show you. So this was the fan art that I posted at the end of the last chapter. And we will do the same for this coming chapter. There's 1 week left because this is the last page of chapter 4, and I'm gonna publish this this Sunday, so in a couple of days. So on the 10th I'm gonna publish this one, and on 17th I'm gonna publish the fan art page. So you guys have left a week and a half. I already got some fan art, so um, I have a page to publish, but don't worry if you want to send me. I can always publish like 2 pages. I don't think anybody would mind. I always get such lovely fan art and people love it, so you don't need to be worried or shy about it. Remind me, I lost my Clip Studio Paint. I think you can email them and ask them to give you the key again if you lost it. They have good customer support. No worries, we take 3D modeling. I actually got some poetry. Uh, and I think I'll just post like the beginning and the link to the rest of it. Somebody wrote a song about Erwin, which I thought was really cute. I still need to draw a music note that resembles a tree. No clue how I'm gonna do it. A music note that resembles a tree. Well, usually music notes have like this little thingy and then it goes up, right? And you can like make it a tree umbrella. Well, if it's like an imaginary new society and culture, then I don't think they would have the same symbolism as in um, Western cultures. Like you can go and search for how Maybe Chinese people, ancient Chinese, drew music symbols. Oh, don't worry, David. I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew, because sometimes in the previous events people are like, oh no, I didn't know, I missed it. And so I wanted to make sure that everybody that wanted to participate in the event had a chance to do so. Where's that line coming from? Okay. Ah, I had 8% on my brush. And then I was wondering why it's not erasing. Yeah, I think I... Oh, it was on purpose, the lines. Okay, I didn't know what it was. Well, it's gonna be a solid color, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, nowadays everybody uses the same music notation convention, but I was watching this channel about this music composer that has on YouTube, and sometimes he explains things from other cultures as well, in terms of timing and rhythm and stuff like that. And at some point, I remember him touching upon Chinese culture and their system of writing music. Although probably that symbolism for Western cultures is probably not gonna be well understood, like the little blob with the stick going up, like that's clearly a music symbol. Also, you have like the speaker icon. Like these are symbols that clearly show sound, but they're pretty modern and they're not gonna really work if you're having like this medieval ancient culture. So it's gonna be pretty challenging for you to make this and also be accessible to modern audiences. But if you want to be vague about it and not be very obvious, you can try and look for symbolism in old gods. Yeah, like these are pretty old, and like you can search for a god of music. Let's see, Greek god of music. Oh, Apollo is the Greek god of music? Okay, Apollo was like what, the sun? No, that was Helios. Is that Helios his son? His father? Father of... I don't know. But you can see maybe one of these symbols is some god that is in some way related to music. Vesta is a god and their icon looks like a TV. I can't believe this. Okay, Vesta god symbol. Okay, this looks better. But I don't know, like in this link here, it looks like a TV with antenna. Honestly. Like tell me that isn't a TV with an antenna on it. Silly. Google has you in its distracting ways. I'm just gonna take a little break. 2 minutes. And I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Thank you for waiting. Okay, take care, Cornelius. Thanks for dropping by. I'm not sure how much the lag is. And this is how I pretty much usually do the shading. And to get the details for the eyes, I use a hard brush and I do the pupil first and then the highlight. And for Marie as well, pupil and then highlight. When the image is bigger, usually I will add extra details. So yeah, it's almost 3 o'clock, so I'm going to end the stream here. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Next stream is going to be on Saturday at 1 o'clock Michigan, USA time. Usually I stream between 1. I start at 1, and depending on how much work I do, generally I don't stream more than 2 hours because it's just too exhausting for me. So yeah, I'm not sure if on Saturday I'm gonna do a live stream of a video game. Usually on Saturdays I do video games. As always, I'll let you guys know in the Discord server or on social media. Links will be in the description below. Thank you for watching and see you in the next one. Bye bye.